Well, yeah, but those were exciting years in my life. When you're moving out of little boyhood, and by the time you become a deacon, you're becoming a man. I was the man around our house with my mother. My mother would remind me that I was her husband is dead, and my older brothers had left the coop. You know, you leave little towns to leave. So I'm the head man. And I had the chores to do and the lawns to take care of and the garden to take care of. And we sold milk to the neighbors and to deliver the milk to the neighbors. But I, by the time I'm 12 years old, I have responsibilities and accountability at 12 years old. We didn't have drugs. We didn't have automobiles. We didn't have motorcycles. We were out in a little country town where you make your own fun. You manufacture them. You learn to play kick the can and run sheepy run. When in the evening under the light from the street light, from the electric light pole, you make your own. You have your own fun. But all of a sudden, but in that process, you're developing responsibility, because my mother would say to me, David, you're the man of the house now, 12 years old. And so the cows have to be milked and the pig fed and the eggs gathered from the chickens and deliver the milk, and we don't have separators, it's all raw milk. But it was the image of my mother trusting me that was a great influence in my life, because I knew that she believed in me. And so that I wouldn't do something that I thought would make her disappointed in me because of trust that she had in me. Anyway, scouting comes along. And so you're a tenderfoot scout for a year back in those years. And you really get into it, and you learn the details, and you read all that you can about Ernest Thompson Seton and Dan Baird, who introduced scouting into America. Scouting had started in India when the British Army was there in occupation in India years ago. They didn't have anything to do, so they developed things. Scouting came out of it, though then scouting came to America. Point I'm making is that you're a tenderfoot for a year. You're a second-class scout for a year. You're a first-class scout for a year. And then you go to work on merit badges. Now, rather than do it the way we did it back in those days, now a smart boy can come along at 12 years old and become a tenderfoot scout. And in a week, he's a second-class scout. In another week, he's a first-class scout. And then he starts getting merit badges. And so he's run the gamut. He's become a scout. Now he loses interest in it because we let him go through it so fast. Go through it. The idea of scouting fits into the church, I think, just like a glove. As an example, I remember the scout oath. I remember, upon my honor, I will do my best. I learned this 85 years ago. Upon my honor, I will do my best. First, to do my duty to God and my country and obey the scout law. Second, to help other people at all times. Third, to keep myself physically strong mentally awake, and morally straight. You can take the gospel message, the plan of salvation, and almost wrap your arms around the scout oath. Or the scout oath, wrap around the other way. Because it talks about, upon my honor, I'll do my best to do my duty to God, my country, be loyal, and the scout laws of being trustworthy, loyal, friendly, courteous, obedient, thrifty, clean, brave, and reverent. Those things. And so scouting, when I was a young deacon and teacher, became part of my life, along with learning about the priesthood on Sunday. And during the week, our scoutmaster was a blacksmith, and we'd go down to the blacksmith shop and watch him fix those shoes and bend them to fit on a horse's foot. But he was our scoutmaster, Henry Voice. But it all came to good. It all came about in a way that helped me to want to be an honorable individual because of the scout oath and the priesthood. Being a deacon and being holding the Aaronic priesthood, the lesser priesthood, in preparatory for the Melchizedek priesthood. And so there's the lesser priesthood. And so you're a deacon, and so we would sweep the meeting house out and we'd fill the coal buckets by the little stoves. We didn't have central heat in them. And we would rake the gravel walks going into the meeting house. We had duties and things to do at church or with my mother at home, taking care of the cows and taking care of the garden and taking care of mowing the lawn and so on. And so I was occupied. We didn't have an automobile. I didn't have a bicycle. We walked to things. But you made your own fun, but you enjoyed it as you went along. But you would be, see, as I've watched scouting through the years, we've let scouting become a monster, and you can go through scouting in a weekend, and then you look around and say, well, now what else is there for me to do? Because we digest it so fast that we miss a lot of the good that's in it, because you go through it so fast. You want to get to the dessert right fast, Anyway, you were talking about scouting. But scouting became a great part of my life. But because it was so compatible with the priesthood. And so, but scouting was the activity. And so we'd hitch up a wagon or a buggy and go up in the mountains and go on little camping trips and so on in a crude way and back in those days. But it was fun and the sport, and you enjoyed every bit of it. But you'd have to do it yourself. But you'd develop ingenuity. You'd develop ways of solving problems. And you would begin to understand the first great commandment is to love deity with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. And the second one is like the first one. You love your neighbor as much as you love this old guy. And so you learn an association with people, because that's the second great commandment. And so life is one of where we work with people. We learn to communicate, to learn the language of whatever land you're living in, communicate, discuss things, learn the golden rule, treat other people as though the way you would want to be treated. But scouting and all fits in it. Now I hear young people say, "Oh, they're not involved in scouting." It doesn't hold a magic for them anymore. It's because we go through it too fast. We zip through it. In the early days of scouting, I think you had to be a tenderfoot a year. And then you would qualify to be a second-class scout, and then a first-class scout. And when I got a first-class badge and put it on a scout hat that I won because I had the cleanest yard in town, I won a uniform, first one we'd ever seen. And I put the first-class badge on that Northwest Mounted Police stiff hat. And I'd go downtown to get the mail from my mother, and when I'd wear that hat, General Eisenhower couldn't have been prouder than I was when he had 5 stars on his shoulders, but I had that first-class badge on my hat. But but you would stay in it long enough to really understand what it's all about and try to get the good out of it. Now we ruin it.
Do you think that the program could help boys still if we went through it like you used to help them be responsible?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, we go through it too fast.
We enjoyed our scouting program. We had great scout leaders. We did great projects, and we spent a lot of time at it. And we got our Eagle Scouts, and it was a great thing for us and our family. Thank you so much for sharing.
You destroy the value of it. You destroy it because you haven't had time to think about it very much. I remember I had a merit badge in swimming. And they were just beginning to come out with merit badges. This would be but scouting, we would select a name for a patrol, and you would learn to do the call of the bird that used to be in there. Seems, and but you would take time to do those things. Today, we'd zip through them and so fast. I think that we've ruined scouting just by making what was a 3 or 4 year process do it in a weekend.
Do you think that we could regain the value of scouting if we went back to the way it used to be? Get back
I think
to
so.
basics?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Uh-huh. Now our sons all went through scouting because it was so important to me when I was growing up. But I don't think they enjoyed it as much as I did. It was brand new to me. It was a brand new program on the horizon. And the church was just getting into it. Oscar Kirkham in Salt Lake City was the #1 Boy Scout in the church, and he used to go around to state conferences and wear his scout uniform and wear it to church. And but he was a great scouter and a great enthusiastic boys man. Yeah, we go through it so fast, we don't get deep enough in the well to understand the good that's in it.
Very good. Thank you very much for, what I want to do is try and put some of the magic back in.
You what?
I want to put some of the magic back in and use some